Well, good morning. It's Wednesday again. Time for a brief midweek update. Happens to be April the 22nd. And as I was thinking about that, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 40th day that we've been practicing more sort of extreme social distancing. That is, basically been told we need to be at home. That's a long time, 40 days. I hope you're doing well. I know it's a long time. We're all just thinking, when can we get back to what used to be or seems to be normal life? Well, as I was thinking about 40 days, I thought 40. How about 40 years? Because that's really what this sort of reminds me of. 40 is a big number in the Bible. But 40 years in the wilderness, right? After 400 years in slavery in Egypt, God's people through Moses were freed. But then they spend 40 years in the wilderness before they get into the promised land. 40 years. Can you imagine doing this for 40 years? Waiting, right? Wondering, when's it going to be over? And that was the people of God for 40 years. Waiting, wondering, wandering, waiting, wondering, wandering, waiting, wondering. When is this all going to be over? Where's this promised land? God said so many good things would happen. When's it going to happen? And so we find ourselves doing the same thing, right? Waiting, wondering, and wandering. Now, maybe we're not doing a whole lot of wandering, nor should we be, right? But, wander around the house a little bit, wander in the backyard to front yard. Maybe you wander off to the grocery store every once in a while, but that's about all the wandering we do. Well, we probably spend most of our time just waiting, and then wondering, when can we get back to some semblance of what life used to be? And so we have actually a lot in common, though we're much more fortunate and blessed than God's people when they were wandering for 40 years. But paying attention to what was going on with them might give us some encouragement for today. And, after the 40 years, they came to the Jordan River, and they're supposed to cross over it, right? But at that point, Moses, he had just recently died, and his replacement was Joshua. And I find what God said to Joshua be pretty telling, and I think pretty appropriate for all of us in these days. Listen to what he said to Joshua in the first portion of the book of Joshua. He said this to him: "Just as I have been with Moses, I will be with you. And I will not fail you, and I will not forsake you. So be strong and courageous, for you shall give this people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them." But Joshua, you need to be strong and courageous. Be careful to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or the left, so that you may have success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong, be courageous. Do not tremble, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Oh, what a beautiful passage, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. What a beautiful passage, to be strong and courageous. It's interesting. What I find is God tends to be low on information and high on trust. That is to say, he lets us know what we need to know when we need to know it, and not a minute before. And in the meantime, what's he always asking us to do? Be trusting. For he is the Lord our God, for he will not forsake us. So be strong in your trusting. Be courageous in your trusting. Be strong in faith. Be strong in following. Those are the things that God puts a premium on. And in terms of information, we just don't get a whole lot. In the desert, they didn't know how long they would be there before they crossed over the Jordan into the promised land. And it was a lot longer than anyone thought they would be there. We don't know when life is going to feel normal again, when we can go back to work as we always did, go to church as we always did, go out with friends, socialize, shop, travel, whatever the case might be, work, We just don't know when it's going to be normal. But it's also the case that that's pretty typical for following God. When he gives us information, it's usually information about his character. Like, I'm faithful, I'm the Lord your God, I've always been faithful to you, I won't forsake you. So the information we get is wonderful information. As a matter of fact, it's the best information, but it doesn't tend to be specific details about when life is going to change for the better. I mean, I think maybe things like GPS in a car, spiritually speaking, could be maybe our worst enemy. We get in a car, right? We plug in the destination and we get every single move we're supposed to make, and we get a second by second, minute by minute update on how we're doing as we go along the way, making the correct turns, getting on the correct highway, getting off at the right time. Everything is laid out for us in advance. All we have to do is just make sure we stay on course. But God's not a GPS. He climbs in the car next to us, says, turn the GPS off. Just talk to me. Spend time with me, and I'll make sure you get where you need to go. But the focus isn't the details about when is something going to change, or what will it be like when it does change, or when will that job come through, or what's going to happen. It's spend time with me. Remember Jesus? Of course you do. Remember when he was saying goodbye essentially to his disciples. John 13, 14, 15, right in there, he's having his last real meaningful, unhurried time with his disciples. And he says to them, I'm going to be leaving. Don't let your hearts be troubled. I'm going to be leaving. In my Father's house there are many rooms, right? I'm going to go prepare a place for you, and I'm going to come back. He gives them that information, but he doesn't say precisely when he's leaving, although they could tell that it was soon. And he certainly didn't say when he was coming back. And so Thomas says, sort of on behalf of the rest of the disciples, but Jesus, we don't know the way. In other words, we don't know the way you're going. And he says, I'm the way. Well, that doesn't sound very helpful. Jesus, you're the way? Yeah, what's the message? The message is get close to me. All you need to worry about in terms of the future is that in the present you stay close to me, Jesus is saying. I'm the way. Follow me at my direction and you'll get where you need to go. You do not need a GPS to get to somewhere important. And so as we think about where we are right now, I'm sure we share so much in common, right? We get frustrated. We lose our patience. We get worried. Maybe it's about a job. Maybe it's about health, or just the timing of everything changing again. And I think what God said to Joshua, and I think what Jesus said to Thomas, is probably pretty good for us today. Be strong in faith. Be courageous. Be sure and careful to do everything he's called us to do. Let's trust his character. You'll find peace in that. And before too long, things are going to be a lot better than they are today. I'm quite sure of that. I care about you very much. I pray that the rest of this week is a great week for you. I want to give you actually just a couple seconds or so, a few moments that is, of video to see what's going on outside. So let's go take a look outside. You'll see some concrete getting torn apart, and it's, we're making progress with the construction. So let's go outside just for a second. All right, like I said, construction's continuing, and anytime they're busting something up, it makes me feel excited because we're making progress. So let me just say this. Let me remind you, tonight we have a Zoom prayer meeting. If you'd like to be part of that Zoom prayer meeting, we do it every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Go back to the email where this midweek update video was sent in that email. Go back to that same email, and there'll be a link on that email to the Zoom prayer meeting tonight. I'll be there. A lot of others will be there. We'll have a great time praying for each other, for our country, for the needs of the world, and just seeking the Lord and his grace and his mercy So join us tonight, 7 o'clock, Zoom prayer meeting. And then again, we'll see you on Sunday morning at 9. I look forward to it. God bless you. He loves you. I love you a whole bunch too. Have a great afternoon.